Right now, Juliana O'Rork with the Better Business Bureau is joining me. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And you know, when she's in studio, you know she's talking about scams.
Yes, always scams. Trying to educate our consumers.
Yes.
We don't want people to be scared. We want you to be educated.
Yes. Okay. So really right now is the time, if you can believe it, for taxes.
I know. We're
Wild.
already like halfway through February. Valentine's Day is around the corner.
Yeah.
Taxes are going to be due before you know it. And so, of course, as you know, anytime something like this is going on, we have scammers. And so tax season is a big time for scammers. And we want to make sure people know kind of what to look out for as they're getting ready to file their taxes and they're getting all their documents together, because there's quite a variety of different types of tricks and tactics that scammers like to use.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot of like new tax stuff coming in right now. There's like the new child tax. There's so many things that are new. So it can really throw a lot of people off, especially with these scammers, right?
Yeah, and taxes in general, I think, can be really confusing for people. You only have to do it once a year. A lot of times, maybe you hire somebody, or if you try to do it yourself, you're still like, look, I'm filling in the boxes where they tell me to put these numbers. Don't really understand what I'm doing. But like I said, we want to educate people so they know what types of scams to look out for. And so kind of first and foremost, one of the biggest things that we see is that scammers will approach you and, you know, they have these high pressure tactics and they say, hey, you know, you owe these back taxes. You need to pay them now. They're really aggressive. And the IRS doesn't reach out to you that way. They will first and foremost send you a letter in the mail. If they ever do follow up after that, it could potentially be through a phone call, but you'll never hear from them unless you actually get a letter first. So we just want to make sure people know, hey, you know, this is happening. And if you feel like somebody is calling you from the IRS, first of all, that's a red flag. And second of all, if they're very pressuring, demanding, getting aggressive, that's another tactic that they like to use because it makes people very uncomfortable. And so, you know, hey, take a step back, take a minute, actually reach out to the IRS if you're actually concerned. But most of us know, hey, we filed our taxes, we did the things we're supposed to do, so I don't know why these people are calling me.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, you know, with people expected to get more money in the refunds, that can be something too, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I know in the last couple of years, you know, there's been these relief checks that people have received in the past, and so they will still sort of play on that as well, and they might call you and say, hey, we need your information because we have this refund for you. And then that's when you're kind of like, really? Why would I have that? Or, you know, but it's essentially just a ploy because they want to get your information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What else should people look out for?
Yeah, so we always encourage people to file their taxes as soon as possible because people can also steal your social security number and file taxes on your behalf. And then oftentimes people don't even know this has happened until they get a letter in the mail from the IRS after they've filed their taxes actually themselves. And the IRS says, hey, you know, 2 tax returns have been filed under this number. And so that's when you start to get into identity theft, which can be very lengthy and messy to fix and correct, and it can take years to get that taken care of. So we always encourage people to file your taxes as soon as possible, as soon as you have all your documentation, so that way it doesn't really give somebody else an opportunity to do that. You can also get a specific PIN number so that every year you file your taxes, you have to put in that PIN number. Now that is your responsibility to keep track of that PIN. Typically the IRS sends you a new PIN number in the mail every December, but basically that's an extra step of protection. It's almost like a multi-factor authentication type, if you will, where then you're putting in that PIN number when you're filing those taxes as well, in addition to all of that information. And scammers would not have that PIN, hopefully. So, you know, you'd be a little bit more protected that way.
Yeah, that's really, really good information.
Yeah.
Where else can they find information from you?
Yeah, so all this information is on bbb.org. We put tons of information, tons of articles. Each of these scams that I've mentioned kind of has its own section. We have a whole hub related to tax, specifically scams. So check it out.
Great.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to ask you a personal question. Are you a procrastinator with your taxes?
I try not to be.
I knew you wouldn't be.
I try not to be, but it kind of depends on the year. And then it also depends, like, sometimes I've hired a person to do them for me just because I am lazy.
Yes.
I'm going to be full of, you know.
Yeah,
you get all your documents together and you're like, I'm not messing with it.
Yeah.
Other times I'm like, okay, put your big old pants on, get the TurboTax up. You can do it yourself. It's not that difficult. It kind of just depends. There's been years where I did freelance work on the side. That gets a little bit more intense.
Sure.
You know, you really want somebody to look over that for you and help you get the best benefit that you can, tax credits, things like that. But if it's just straightforward, I've worked for one company, you know, I don't really have a lot of deductions, things like that, then I may do it myself. But, you know, it's always nice to have a professional look at things for you. To
Absolutely.
Sort of, you know, help you as best as you can. What about you?
I'm such a procrastinator with it, and I do it myself.
Okay.
I put like these fake glasses on. I'm making a whole thing because I have to make it fun for me. If not, then
Yeah.
I'm never
Well,
going to do it.
And I will say too, like once you've done it yourself in the past, if you use the same platform, it'll
Exactly.
auto import a lot of your stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's not so bad. So
It's not.
it really just depends on how challenging and difficult your tax situation is and like all the documents that you need. And
I know.
most of them you're kind of just step by step following along. So it
Yeah.
really just depends what you're the most comfortable with, because also when you hire a tax consultant, attorney, whomever, and they're the ones submitting the tax refund on your behalf, if something's wrong, they're going to go back to that person versus you. So if you file them yourself and maybe you aren't sure, have questions, and say you still submit them, if something's wrong, they're coming back to you versus the person that you hired. So it just kind of depends, like I said, how difficult your tax situation might be, how many documents do you have, what kind of credits are you trying to get, and that really kind of helps to determine what you should do.
Great.
Yeah.
Juliana O'Rork, always great to see you. Also, too, the most stylish person ever. I mean, if you
Thank
see her
you.
outfit, it's good.
Thank
It's good.
you.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much.